If you think one slap can break a girl, wait until you hear how this one used it to build an empire of respect. Her comeback was so unstoppable it shook the entire school to its core. Stick around, hit subscribe, and don't miss the most jaw-dropping transformation story you'll ever read. The entire school courtyard was buzzing with noise that morning, the kind of chaotic chatter that made even birds hesitate before landing on the rusted flagpole, but none of that mattered to Alina Hargrove as she walked through the crowd with her books tightly clutched to her chest, her steps small but steady, her heart pounding for reasons far beyond the usual pressure of school life, because today, like every day, she was praying she wouldn't cross paths with Brielle Kingston, the queen bee whose cruelty was as famous as the school's legendary annual sports festival. Yet fate had a twisted sense of humor, because the moment Alina reached the center of the courtyard, Brielle and her crew of glossy-haired shadows stepped into her path, blocking her way as the morning sun cast a spotlight over the impending humiliation, and in a blink, Brielle's perfectly manicured hand flew across Alina's face with a stinging crack that echoed so loudly the courtyard fell silent. 200 students turning in unison like spectators in a gladiator arena, their phones raised, their eyes wide, some gasping, others smirking, and Brielle, with her lips curled into a cruel smile, hissed, "Maybe next time you'll learn your place." But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that this slap was not going to break Alina. It was going to become the turning point of her entire life, because Alina, trembling but strangely calm, slowly lifted her gaze, her cheek burning but her spirit igniting, and instead of crying, instead of shrinking, instead of apologizing for something she didn't even do, she did something that no bullied student in that school had ever dared to do. She smiled. Not a mocking smile, not a frightened smile, but a small strange smile that whispered, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," and the tiny flicker of defiance sent a visible ripple of confusion through Brielle's face, though she quickly masked it with a forced laugh, snapping her fingers for her entourage to follow her as she strutted away. But unbeknownst to her, Alina had already made a decision that would unravel everything Brielle thought she controlled. Later that day, instead of hiding, Alina marched straight into the principal's office, not with tears, but with evidence, a video recorded by a shy freshman who admired Alina's kindness and had secretly sent it to her moments after the slap, and while the principal stared in shock, unable to believe what he was seeing, Alina explained everything calmly, her voice steady, as if she had been preparing for this moment her entire life, and within hours, the school administration held an emergency meeting. The board called Alina personally to thank her for having the courage to report this, and by the next morning, Brielle walked into school expecting applause or at least the usual glorification, only to find her locker sealed, her privileges revoked, her cheer captain title suspended, and a disciplinary notice waiting with her name printed in bold red letters, the entire hallway buzzing with the news that the untouchable Brielle Kingston had finally been touched by consequences. But the story didn't end there, because Brielle, humiliated and furious, didn't stay quiet. She launched a campaign of whispers, rumors, digital lies, and invisible attacks against Alina, weaponizing the school's gossip circuits with the precision of a seasoned manipulator. But Alina, instead of collapsing under the pressure, did something unbelievable. She began documenting everything, gathering proof, saving screenshots, recording conversations, compiling a digital archive so thorough it could have been mistaken for an investigative journalist's report. And while she did this, she also began helping other bullied students do the same, becoming a quiet but powerful force, a protector who operated not through violence or popularity but through truth, strategy, and resilience. And soon students who had once walked past her without a glance started approaching her quietly, thanking her, asking for help, offering support, forming a silent alliance that grew day by day until one afternoon, the school's auditorium filled with murmurs as Alina stepped onto the stage at the student council hearing where Brielle's escalating behavior was finally being addressed. And as Alina stood there, her hair slightly messy from the wind, her notes trembling only slightly in her hands, she delivered a speech so raw, so honest, so heartbreakingly powerful that even the toughest teachers swallowed hard, her words painting a picture of every silent suffering student, every overlooked injustice, every moment she chose not to give up. And when she finished, the room erupted, not with polite applause, but with the kind of thunderous approval that shakes walls and futures at the same time. The council ruled in Alina's favor, enforcing new anti-bullying policies, launching anonymous reporting lines, establishing protections, and suspending Brielle indefinitely. But the biggest twist came weeks later when a nationwide youth organization noticed Alina's speech, posted by students who were moved by her courage, and invited her to speak at a national event, her video gaining millions of views overnight, turning her from a once invisible girl into a symbol of quiet strength. And as cameras, reporters, and invitations flooded her inbox, Brielle, now isolated, exposed, and no longer worshipped, approached her privately, tears streaking her mascara, whispering a broken apology, admitting that she grew up in a toxic home where cruelty was taught, not questioned, and while Alina didn't excuse her actions, she did something only a truly strong person could. She forgave her, not for Brielle's sake, but for her own peace, telling her gently, hurt people, but healed people can heal others, and that single sentence became the headline of thousands of social media posts. From that day onward, Alina continued her advocacy, becoming a voice that echoed far beyond the courtyard where she had once been slapped, and her story, born from a moment of humiliation, transformed into a movement that changed not only her school, not only her city, but countless lives across the country, proving that the most powerful revenge is rising so high that those who tried to break you end up learning from your strength.